Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Dr. Yasapa with Zion's Law School. I wanted to come on today and talk about vows, um, vows in the Hebrew scriptures. So to get started, there are two type of vows a person can take. There's a unconditional vow, and then there's a conditional vow. The unconditional vow is something that was usually made in a desperate situation. The same as with the conditional vow. The difference between the two is that the unconditional vow would be to vow something to the Most High, and you'd have to do that. Um, the unconditional vow, you'd have to do it regardless of the situation or the outcome. Whereas a conditional vow would be something like, if you'll do this for me and you actually do it, then I'll do that uh, for you. So that's why it's called a conditional vow, because you're asking the Most High to do something for you, and then once you see that He's done it, then you're going to do something for Him. And again, the unconditional vow is just when you're going to say you're going to do something for the Most High. But in each case, even though the situation was a desperate or a dire situation, let's say for you, for the person who makes the vow is still binding. You can't get out of it without some type of, uh, well, you just can't get out of it. Whether you experience something bad immediately or not, but in the Most High's eyes, you can't get out of it. You got to pay it. And you would have been better off had you not made the vow. But anyway, these are just a description of what a vow what a vow is. But there's something that I want to focus on that has really not much to do with that, but with uh, pagans and their conception of a vow and how that affects us today. And actually, how you actually see this in secret societies. And it is my opinion that this is the contract that these secret society people have with the demons. Okay, this is the scriptural basis of their contract. You can find it in the book of Numbers, chapter 30, verse 3. Interesting enough, 33. And we all know that that's an important number in Freemasonry and other secret societies. So the book of Numbers, chapter 30, verse 3, or Numbers, or number 33. Okay, so I'm just going to look right in the Strongs and I'm just going to read it out. So this is the this is the version of the Strongs that I'm dealing with today, and you can read through this on your own. So if you go to Strong's number 5087 and 5088, it's the same word. And for those of you who've taken my classes, you'll know that nouns and verbs, the same word can be a noun or a verb. Okay, you should know that if you've taken my class. All right, so let's look at 5087. That's Hebrews number 5087 and 5088. So these are synonyms, of course, right? They're synonyms. So we'll go to 5088. This is the word that's translated as vow, used as a noun, Okay, but remember, it's a synonym with the word that's translated as vow, used as a verb. Okay, so the only difference then is just a part of speech, right? But that affects the meaning. Those of you who've taken my class, you already know that. All right, so if you go to Strong's number 5088, and then you look at number 5, no, let's go to, 5. Let's go to 5C, and then we'll read down to 6B. It reads, starting at 5C, this is page, well, just starting at 5C, you can figure it out on your own. Starting at 5C, it reads, Here, even Gentiles express their thanks to capital God, presumably with a gift promised upon condition of deliverance. And then they're quoting Numbers chapter 21, verse 1 through 3. 5D. Such offerings may also be expressions of zeal for capital God, and they're quoting Psalms 22:25. We'll go on to 5E. One can give to capital God anything not abominable to him, quoting Leviticus 27, verse 9 forward, and Deuteronomy 23, verse 18, including one's services. That's a quote from Leviticus 27:2. 6. Now, here's what I wanted to draw your attention to. Pagans. So pagans would be non people who are not us, or our people who are practicing a pagan lifestyle. Okay, so these are foreigners and people who are not keeping the law. So pagans were thought to feed and or tend their deities, was using God, lowercase g o d. I'm going to do it again. Pagans were thought to feed and or tend their deities, while capital God denied that vows, that's quote unquote vows, paid to him were to be so conceived. And that's a quote from Psalms 50, verse 9 through 13. So let me go back to that again at 6. Pagans were thought to feed and or tend their deities, lowercase God. Now, those of you who listened to my Genesis lesson, Genesis chapter 1 lesson, John 1, 1 through 5, and then Genesis 2, this should get your attention, right? Because it says pagans were thought to feed and or tend to their deities. So the deities in Genesis chapter 1, as you recall, were given a command, right? To conquer, to enslave, right? Suppress, and have mastery over all living things on earth. That includes the Most High's creation, okay, which also includes man, okay, or earthling man. Whereas the deities in chapter 1, if you recall, are what? These are hybrids, right? These are hybrids. So those entities from chapter 1, right, uh, would be included in this pagan, right? These are people who don't, these are foreigners who don't follow the law, right? And the giants, those of you who took the lesson, or who watched the lesson on YouTube, the giants would do what? They would enslave people. They would force the people to work to feed them. And you'll find this out in Jubilees. And when the people could no longer, people who the Most High created could no longer produce enough food to feed them, then the giants started eating the people. So that's where we're at with that. That's the correlation between the pagans' point of view toward their deities. I'll read it again. Pagans were thought to feed and tend their deities, to feed and tend to their deities. So these people who worship these deities were their slaves. Basically, that's what it's saying. So we go to 6a. In paganism, the deity, lowercase god, rewarded the devotee because of and in proportion to his offering. In paganism, the deity rewarded the devotee, that would be the foreigner. He could also be one of the people from the house of Yasharal, right? Because we're told in scripture that our people would go to these uh, pagan temples and they would engage in sexual practices, right, at these foreign temples. But when you study this out, what do you find? We'll get to that now. In paganism, the deity rewarded the devotee of and in proportion to his offering. So when our brothers or when our ancestors went to these pagan temples and were involved in sexual practices involving these deities, they were actually seeking a benefit, okay? Be it a better yield, a better crop yield, a better harvest, more animals, or who knows what it could have been. But they were going there seeking a benefit from these deities. So let's continue to read. It was a contractual relationship whereby the deity was obligated to pay a debt thus incurred. So when our brothers went there to seek the benefit from that deity then was obligated to pay the debt. Whatever that brother was seeking, or that uh, person who kept the law and who was in a contract with the Most High, whatever he was seeking, or whatever that foreigner, that pagan was seeking, that deity was obligated to pay it. So that's the motive for going to the foreign temple, right? Because they knew that the deity was obligated to pay, right? That's why they went into it. There was a contract that was formed, a verbal contract, right? That was formed. All right, so let's go into it. Let's continue. It was a contractual relationship whereby the deity was obligated to pay a debt thus incurred. Notice this. It says in Israel, no such contractual relationship was in view. So amongst our people, we didn't uh, associate a vow that we took with the Most High with the formation of a contract, right? We could ask the Most High and we would expect for him to give it. We don't need a contract. Why? Because we already have a contract. He's already told us that if we follow his instructions, then he'll make us very wealthy. He'll put us at the head and make everybody else the tail. He would give us tremendous wealth beyond anything we could ever imagine. So no need for a contract. But those rebels, those brothers of ours who were rebels, they went to the pagan temples, formed a uh, contract through sexual relations with temple prostitutes, knowing that the deity of that temple would be obligated to pay. In other words, the deity would be obligated to give them what they wanted. So this is something that took place amongst our people, and it's all throughout Scripture. You can see that our people were always involved with these pagan deities. They were always seeking a benefit, right? They always sought a benefit through these other deities. Why did they do it? Now you know, because there was a contract formed with them and the deity, and through sexual relations, that deity of that temple could inhabit the temple prostitute. That temple prostitute, that pagan temple prostitute, was set aside for the special usage of that deity in the temple. So, in that sense, that prostitute was set apart, right? Set apart for the special use of that deity. So, when one of our ancestors had sexual relations with that set apart prostitute, that demon could then enter into that temple prostitute and experience sexual pleasure that they were having with the Israelite, quote unquote, with the Israelite who was there having intercourse with that woman or man, right? So this is why fornication or sexual, uh, but that's a whole other story. We'll get back to that at another time. But this is the problem with that situation. So anybody who seeks a benefit from another deity and enters into a contract, uh, or not, and enters into a contract, they do enter into a contract with that deity, and it is binding. So be careful about who you make an oath or make a vow with, because it is binding and it will affect your relationship with the Most High. Shalom.